Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Hit Season. We are so happy to wish you all a happy holidays and Merry Christmas. We are getting ready to celebrate with our families, but we wanted to make sure that we celebrated with you as well. So we have some exciting news today. This is going to be a little bit different of an episode, right, Erica?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So once in a month, Nick and I are going to come to you from a little bit different of an angle than what we've done before, and we're going to be calling it Behind the Lens. And during these podcasts, we're just going to talk a little bit about where Nick might have been, competitions that we might have attended, or just upcoming hot topics that we might want to discuss with one another.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's fun to sometimes just kind of take a step back and just breathe because this, this whole realm of cheer gets really fast paced.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's been a crazy time. We're now into our first comp. It's behind us. It's in the review mirror. Leading up to that was showcase season.
Oh my gosh. It was so fun, I think, to see all the different ways that gyms created their own showcase. And as we both saw, every gym has their own little flair to doing their showcase.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. So I did like 4 or 5 showcases. Every time I came back, everybody would be like, okay, which one's your favorite now? And to your point, they really do all have their own little flavor to it. Some of them, there's a lot of things that are the same, but others are just a little different. I have to say that my last showcase that I did, which was with Fame All-Stars, shout out to everybody at Fame. They brought me up to Greenville, North Carolina and had me shoot their showcase. And something that was really cool about their showcase is they actually invited some local high school teams.
I love that because, we talk all about, the world of cheer. It's not just all-star. It's not just high school. There's just this whole realm of cheer, and incorporating the two is just such a great idea.
Yeah, it was really neat. And then, I tried to look at it throughout the whole day. It was a long day, but I tried to look at it through a couple different lenses. And, you look at it from like a participant side of things, like I'm in All-Star. What better way to share the day with just your local peers, both in All-Star and in your local high school cheer? And then I look at it from like a parent perspective and it's like, wow, this gym is investing not only in our All-Star girls and guys, but the community as well.
Absolutely.
So from a community standpoint, it looked really good. And then from the coach's eyes, it looks really great, right? Because you can use it as a recruitment opportunity.
Yeah, I love it. And I think we had the opportunity, my daughter and I, to see, I think there were 3 of them that we went to. And again, it just goes back to, how the coaches portray the gym, what it looks like. And to your point, it's not just, the internal gym that's there participating. It is outside people who might be looking at that gym, prospects. It might be fellow supporters. So I think there's a lot of different areas that people look at these showcases, and it just speaks so much more about the gym than I think they actually realize.
Yeah, I mean, not only is it a showcase really for the athletes, but it's kind of a showcase for the gym owners, right?
Yes.
Because it's their time to shine. It is their ability to show people that maybe don't come to the gym every day. It's the ability for them to say, hey, this is what we're bringing into this current season.
Absolutely.
So, and you just never know who's out in the crowd watching.
Absolutely. So we had an amazing showcase season. We saw so many different amazing gyms. And then we jumped straight into our very first competition, which was really cool because we've been talking about cheer. We've been talking about so many different things, but we actually got to attend our very first competition, which was equal parts exhausting and really amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like building it up, and then you get there and it's kind of like either that sigh of relief or that I'm going to explode. And
yes, I think it was a little bit of both.
It was a little bit of both. And I think it was a great competition. So it was a little different this year because not only were we there for our daughters and for them to compete, but I was also there on behalf and on a roster of another gym. So it was really interesting to kind of feel that and be on the lookout for a couple different things. And everybody always asks, like, how do you know what to film, when you're at these comps? And I have a list. So what I do is I go through my list of all of the schedule and I highlight it in 3 different colors. So I have a color for our daughter's gyms. Or gym, rather. I have a color for a gym if I'm going to work for them, so all of their teams. And then I have my list of like my diamonds in the rough. These will probably be cool edits.
Yes, I think it was, so we brought, I believe, nine teams with us. Yep. So that's, a huge portion of your time. And then, you already had, a gym that you were on the roster for. But I think the diamonds where you can really the diamonds in the rough where you can kind of find these gyms, and they're not always the gyms that you would think they are. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. We saw some really incredible gyms at Gatlinburg, which I feel like is a little bit different. Sometimes it's a little bit smaller of a comp. And this year we actually saw some bigger name gyms participate.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by that. I was surprised by some names that we did not see.
Yes.
And then I was surprised by some names that we did see.
We did see. I agree with that.
And then, there's that element of surprise for some names that I had never heard of before.
Yes.
And some of these gyms that historically haven't been at those comps, they show up. And it's great. It's awesome to see, new names, new competitions.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So what were some of your favorite teams that you saw at Gatlinburg?
So obviously you got to root on the teams that our daughters are on. So we got to root for those. There were a lot of the Fame teams that I'm super excited about. We have an ambassador, Olivia. She is on Code Red. So I was excited to see their team. They are a very, very small team. I think there's 9 or 10 of them on the team.
Wow.
And I believe they're either a junior or a senior team. So it's interesting. Usually you see those smaller numbers on the younger ages, but so I was really excited to kind of see them. I love their team's Knockout and Obsession. They're always just a blast to watch. But I mean, let's just call the elephant out of the room, C4.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Truly an incredible. I remember so we had the opportunity to go to the Cheer Extreme showcase. And so we had already seen them once, and they had already performed a really incredible routine.
And it wasn't even the whole routine.
But truly, it was a good enough routine that I was like, I want to make time to be able to watch them. And then to sit day one to watch them, I just remember being blown away. Yeah,
that was pretty wild. So obviously through that whole list that I create, I try to keep up with those teams, right? Like there's just some that are like, I have to record them. And so I remember being up there for C4 day one, and it was just a whole presence. That whole gym, other gyms. I mean, everybody just came out of the woodwork. You would have thought there were celebrities on that stage. It was really awesome to watch. I was enamored by the routine. And so definitely coming into day 2, I wanted to capture it again.
Absolutely. I remember, so I had told my husband, I said, you have to watch this day one. And I remember, we watched it, we were blown away. And then we made a point. The C4 ended up going on, I believe, maybe 5 teams ahead of our daughter's team. And so we were already in the convention center. Yep. And I remember we had already been planning to watch them because it was so amazing day one. And I sat down, and somebody behind me actually brought someone. And I heard her say, I wanted to bring her specifically to watch this team.
They're inspiring. And they're not only inspiring from their technical talent, but they're inspiring from like a cultural presence. And that was something that I noticed from a lot of these teams, specifically at Gatlinburg this year, is you can feel the program's culture permeate through the parents, through the athletes watching, and then specifically on stage. Those girls and guys, those teams are just so ingrained with one another that you feel it. And when they go on stage, it's a difference between we have to go and execute to we're going to go and execute, but we're going to have a heck of a time and have a lot of fun doing it. And you can see it and feel it.
Absolutely. I feel like I remember, again, C4, watching them being in awards. And the way that they celebrated a win, you would have thought, and if memory serves me, they were either by themselves or maybe had one other person in their division. And you would have thought that they had just won like Summit.
And Gatlinburg, Aloha Showdown Gatlinburg is arguably one of the smaller comps.
Yeah.
It's at the beginning of the season. It's typically a smaller comp. We obviously were, dealt with the hurricane weather that kind of helped navigate with some of that traffic and really kind of burden that. I know a lot of teams pulled out because of it. So then you see that, and it's that culture. And then, day one, 99.2.
Incredible. But that brings us to talking about the culture that some of these gyms create. We're winding down the year. So we're looking forward to 2025. We're looking forward to a new year, and we're looking forward to really the excitement of all that the meat of the cheer season brings.
Yep.
And we've got one competition under our belt. And I think what people are realizing more and more is looking at kind of, when they're deciding who am I sticking with for an entire year, when I'm looking towards next year, one of the very most important things people are talking about is the culture at the gym.
Yeah. And I think kids are now starting to pick up on that as well. I mean, obviously the kids are driven by, the allure of the routine, right?
Of course.
It's this banging routine that comes out and hits, and everybody's screaming and yelling, and everybody's super excited about it. The announcer's clearly really excited about it. So the kids are looking at that.
Yes.
But as a parent, and I don't know if I can speak for you, but as a parent, I'm watching the reaction when their teams are not on the stage.
Yes.
I'm looking at how do parents, how do the other teammates, how do other athletes at the same gym, how do they react? What are they looking at? What are they saying when the eyes aren't on them?
Yes, when their competitor falls, when we've both, I'm sure, been there where you are watching, not necessarily our daughters because we're up front, but other teams perform, and you're seeing girls and standing in the back being like, I hope she falls. Oh my gosh, if they fall, then this means this. And don't get me wrong, I think a little healthy competition is good for everybody.
Right.
And I think it speaks volumes about different gyms when you say, oh, I might have to go against them, because that means that it's an amazing program. But it can tip over into the other side of the nastiness. And that's where we have to be really careful about eyeing that line between respecting them as a competitor because, oh my gosh, I don't want to go against them because they are just that good, and I hope they fall.
Yeah. So hot take on competitiveness. What are your thoughts on going to a competition and not competing against anyone and earning a bid?
So I know we have had this conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a score that you have to hit.
Like a minimum requirement?
A minimum requirement.
Yeah.
And I get it. There are not, especially gyms are going to smaller competitions. They're looking for bids. They're bid hunting.
It's strategic.
There's some strategicness. So I understand that. But I think there are times that you're going to naturally be alone in a division.
Sure.
And I think anytime a bid is involved, there should be a minimum score. It's hard, for the kids. From the kids' perspective, it's hard for them to get excited. It's hard for them to feel amazing when they win something and they know that the outward perception is, well, did they really earn it?
And it's one of those things that I personally feel like you got to pay the piper sometime, right? So would you rather pay it up in the beginning and realize we had an opportunity to get a summit bid. We were by ourselves. We didn't meet the mark. We did not earn a summit bid, so therefore we weren't given a summit bid. And that's the thing. I think, it has to be an earned, not given. Because then there's that strategy of going to these comps knowing, okay, there's nobody there. We can just go get our bid and we can call it a day. Me personally, I would much rather go and earn my bid, because when you get to summit and you're competing against the best of the best, getting that bid for quote unquote free or with lack of, you're going to pay it then. So now what do you do, right? I would much rather know that my routine needs work right from the get-go than to figure that out halfway through the season. And then we get to summit and you're like, oh, wow, this competition is really tough because I haven't seen any of these people all year. It's like you can run, but you can't hide.
Exactly. And I think, especially with Summit, you're talking about competing with the best of the best, but you're also talking about not every team makes it to day 2.
Right.
So I don't want to set my daughter up for failure where she might, in this particular case at Gatlinburg, she did get a bid because there was not another team present. But I wouldn't want her to be set up for failure because maybe not making day 2 of Summit. Of course she wants to make day 2 of Summit. And no matter where she places, obviously she would like to place higher, but she wants to at least feel like I have earned this. I can be with the best of the best. I very firmly, I've said this many times, I believe if you want to be the best, you have to compete with the best.
100%.
And in order to do that, I think there does need to be a minimum.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a minimum score. If there's nobody in your division, here's what I think. I think if there's nobody in your division, I think varsity needs to do, and probably all the event producers need to be better at, is if there is only one small team, let's say it's a level 2 small, okay, youth level 2 small, and then you have no one in that division, and then you have level 2 youth medium, they need to stay segregated. Yeah. There are divisions for a reason. Otherwise, you have to either be consistent or just lump them in all together and don't even call them small, medium, large. Just let them battle.
Yes, because we experienced this last year where a small team went against a medium team, and the reality is that medium team can throw up more stunt groups. They can throw more baskets. They can throw more tumbling passes. And it's only because of the number of kids.
Right. But that also opens up for more opportunity for failure on their side. Yes. Just because they have more doesn't necessarily mean they're better. But like if you're going to be competing on a regional summit stage, arguably like a championship type stage, it needs to be set in a manner and governed in a manner. So I think that's the first step. They need to make sure that they're going to decide at the beginning that all competitions are going to stay segregated from a level in division and size. And then I think if there's nobody in your division, I think you need to be by yourself. And if you're by yourself, there has to be a minimum score that you hit. And it can't be just this like knockout of the park. You got to hit a 92. Like, no, what they should do is take the year prior's numbers. What is the average score of a level 2 youth small team? Okay, the average score was 95.36. Perfect. Set that as your benchmark. Or put it up a little bit. Now, if there's say there's 2 teams or say there's 3 teams, I think at that point then you have to have a minimum amount of teams to waive the score requirement. Because I agree, like if there's 3 teams or more, 3-4 teams or more, and you're only giving a summit bid for the top score or the top, first place, okay, well, you have competition. You've got 2 other people that can beat you. So yes, I think that move forward with that. But if you have nobody in your division, I don't think they should be handing them out like candy.
Yes, I agree. And that kind of touches on the subject where I know we are going to talk to somebody later about scoring and all the nuts and bolts related to that. But, it really does come down to, if we want to be taken seriously as a sport, there are some things that we have to be held accountable to. And unfortunately, this might be one of them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no way that you could have this much leniency at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Even though I think there's this much leniency at the Super Bowl if you're Taylor Swift. But yeah, no, I think that's something that needs to change. But it was really good to be back at the competition. It was good to see everybody excited and everybody back into their swing of things. It was good to just catch up with some people that you don't necessarily see at the gym all the time. But we had a lot of fun.
To your point, you kind of stay with, especially, our daughters are both on 2 teams. So we're straddling 2 different teams, 2 different meet times, 2 different sets of parents.
Right.
And, you don't necessarily see the same people. And it's nice to just have that, it goes back to that team bonding, gym bonding of the culture. And you really get a feel for what the parents are like, and in an atmosphere that is already
very stressful. Yeah. So speaking about team bonding, it's always interesting to watch day 1 of the first comp. And it's a good gauge of how well the bonds worked.
Yes.
Because team bonds are very interesting. And I think more team moms, team dads programs, I think they should really start looking outside the box at team bonds. And what are you trying to accomplish, right? Because I know we've talked about this before, but coaches have an expectation of their kids on the team. And you take all these kids, say you take 30 kids, maybe there's 7 or 8 of them that have been on a team before. Maybe all of them have been on the same team before. But, take a team that only had 5 or 6 that have been on a team before, and the rest of them are either new to the gym, new to the level, new to the team, whatever the case may be. And you want them to trust each other. How do you do that in 2 weeks, right? Like you start having these team bonds, but what would the question for you would be like, what is your ideal team bond? What do you think a good team bond would be?
So I think a good team bond involves more than just a pool party, a bowling, working those creative muscles, I think really, it sets the stage for what you're really asking of these kids.
Right.
There's a lot of trust between a front spot and her base, a back spot and the flyer and the back spot. There's so much trust that is interwoven between that entire stunt group. And so I think, look, everybody loves a good pizza party. Everybody loves a good pool party, all of that. And that is great for the entire team. But I would love to see more things segregated just to maybe it's individual stunt groups, or maybe it's getting that time to really understand. You may have a super experienced flyer and a super experienced back spot or a base, but the back spot is new, or the front spot is new, or the one of the bases is new. And it's hard to have somebody who is brand new come into an atmosphere like that where there are already pre-existing relationships and break into that. Or maybe all of them are new except for the flyer.
Right.
And so I think more targeted things, like maybe it's, something like a scavenger hunt where they're really working together, not necessarily they're forced working together, not necessarily in a pool party where you really have no control over what groups everybody's in.
Yeah, I agree, because then we expect them to take their individual skills, bring them inside in a very serious tone. Yes. I mean, when you're out there trying to win, practice is precious, right? And that's the time to learn. I think the biggest key that people are missing from team bonds, I think the coaches should be there. I think if you're going to win as a team and the coach is part of that winning mentality and coaching and so on and forth, I think they need to be there, because they're setting the expectation all season long of what they're asking out of their athletes. I think that the coaches need to be involved in that. I think there's such a divide. And so what you're doing is it's almost like a split custody parent situation where a child is with their mom or dad, whatever, for a week. And there's a set of expectations there. And those set of expectations may cross, they may not even align with the other set. So then when they go to the other parent for the next week, well, now it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I don't operate like that. And then it's just a reverse going back. So I think that team bonds need to your point, need to look more strategic. I think they can be fun, but I think they need to be strategic. I think some team bonds need to happen in the gym, not outside the gym, because it's a direct correlation. But I also think that the coaches need to be a part of team bonds. So I'm really curious to see what others, you go ahead and put in the comments, and I would love to hear, or shoot us some DMs. I would love to hear what other people's opinions are of that. And maybe there's gyms out there that coaches are being a part.
Absolutely. And, I think it's really interesting to hear what, from other people's perspective, what are you doing and what are the coaches doing that really makes the impact on the athletes? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about different age groups. We're talking about different levels, whether that's tumbling, whether that's stunting, whether that's whatever that includes. And it's hard, to wrangle a bunch of kids, preteens, teenagers. And a lot of times, we have our daughters cheer on two different teams, a youth team and a junior team. Yep. And so you're talking about a wide age range, not just from the youth age teams, but also from the junior age teams. And our daughters are both on the younger side of the junior age teams. So how do you get a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old on the same sheet of music when it comes to bonding?
Right. Because they're in total different phases of life. And that's such an influential part, because the 15-year-olds are moving on to a whole different part of life. The 10-year-olds think the 15-year-olds are so cool. That causes them to want to grow up quicker. And it just turns into a whole effect. But I think, going back to our experience at Gatlinburg, and, the season just got started, is you can see that culture permeate. And that these gyms and these programs are doing something when you can go in an environment and see what was going on. But
absolutely,
it was really cool to watch C4. It was really cool to watch Senior Elite, Youth Elite, Lady Lux. The whole gym was just there to support them. And and let's face it, Senior Elite, C4, Lady Lux, they all look great.
Stole the show.
Yeah, fun fact about, so when I watch C4, and what I do is when I come back, and this is kind of probably cool for people to learn, but I have all this footage when I come back. And then I got to look through it all and figure it out, like who is what and stuff. I'm still trying to develop a process of like maybe a little dry erase board that I put up in front of my computer or my camera, so I know like who it is. Because when I'm going through all this footage, and so I'm going through it all, and then in my mind, I have an idea of what I've seen over the weekend of what I want to put out for the next video. And so the video that I wanted to put out first was Lady Luck's, and that was one I actually put out on Saturday night after day one. And the whole Cheer Extreme family just came out of the woodwork, and it was great, and it blew my mind. My phone was pretty much dead because it was just like, zzz, zzz. So it was really cool. As a filmmaker, that's like the highest way you can compliment like your work. So it's really good to kind of see that. So then day two, I'm like, okay, after C4 got a 99.2, I'm like, C4 is going to be my next edit. So Monday night, I will never forget this. This was a really cool moment. 7:45 p.m. Monday night, we're back, and I released the edit, and it went bananas. I think the latest is we're at like 59,000 views, 1,800 likes, like 412 shares, a bunch of comments. I've gotten some really cool comments out of it. Some people, what was that one that the girl said?
My favorite one was the girl told you that they needed to give you a raise.
That would be great. I don't know where that raise is going to come from, but that would be great.
You need one.
I don't know. It was just really, really cool to see. And I mean, it was all over the place. Everywhere I was like looking, it was coming up on people's places. And then, not to like toot my own horn, but like some Cheer Extreme fan pages we're putting it on their thing.
I think you might have gotten a message from the Bomb Squad team themselves. Did you not?
I did. Yep. So C4, whoever runs their social media page, reached out very shortly after that and wanted to know how we could work together in the future. So really, really excited. If anybody from C4 is watching, definitely would love to work with you guys. It's just so much fun. They make my job so easy. But we've got some comps coming up. So obviously when everybody's watching this, it will be the day after Christmas.
Yes.
Fun fact, this is Christmas Eve that we're recording this. Another fun fact, we have recorded this podcast.
I think we're on 4
times, I think. We've run into some issues.
technical difficulties.
But that's the benefit of when you're trying to produce, film, be on and, on this podcast, but it was fun. But yeah, we're super excited. You can kind of see the Christmas tree somewhere behind Erica and myself. We're really excited to be able to share the holidays, and we've got a lot to be thankful for, both personally and through Hit Zero. And so I thought that might be kind of cool. Why don't we say 3 things each that we're thankful for, cheer related, and it can be Hit Zero or it cannot be Hit Zero.
Okay. Do you want to go back and forth, or me do my 3 things?
You can go first.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I can steal ideas if I need to.
Okay. No. Fair enough. I think for me, so first, I think it's been having the opportunity to watch our daughters. This is their 3rd year together. Yes, 3rd year on the same team. And our daughters have had an amazing, if you guys happen to know Hayden and Zoe, you know that they are never far from one another. And even if they are far from one another, they're probably texting one another.
Yeah.
And our daughters have developed such an amazing bond and friendship. And I think that's one of the things, especially looking back over 2024, that's one of the things that Cheer has really been that guiding light for them. And they've been in the gym together. My daughter is the back spot to your daughter's flyer. And watching that relationship develop has been amazing. Watching their personal relationship develop has been amazing. They just are such great friends. So I think that's number 1. I think 2 has been just launching. I was pleasantly persistent in starting this podcast.
You were. This is your baby.
Yes. And so I think 2 is just watching this podcast come to life, people listening and enjoying it and just hearing what we have to talk about. I think some of the guests that we have on have been amazing. I think some of the guests that we are going to have on are going to be really incredible. And I think just watching this come to life has been 2. And I think in the same vein, my 3rd thing is kind of in the same vein as the first one is watching our families grow together.
Yeah.
That is, we have forged such a deep friendship through cheer that's really started in cheer. We have all become such great friends. And so I think having that is really means more to me anything than this year.
Yeah, no, I can echo some of that. Obviously watching cheer be the catalyst to so many great things this year. Everybody knows cheer is so stressful.
Oh my gosh, so stressful.
But through that stress, you really can make an effort and a decision to how you're going to harness it. And that's something that I have been working through is, as a parent, you've got the travel responsibilities, you've got the financial responsibilities, you have the time commitment responsibilities, you have the emotional support you have to give, you have all these different things that you have to provide. And then in the end, you may have nothing. Like you may have nobody to help with that. But that's why This Is Cheer family came about. We have just made such a great lasting relationship between our families, and our daughters are a lot to thank for that, and cheer is. So I'm definitely thankful for that. I'm just thankful for the entrepreneurship of HITSZN. HITSZN was something that was like in my mind, and I was trying to birth, and then it did, and it was great. And it just became so much more than I could have imagined. Saying and doing are totally different things. And sometimes I have a hard time of saying a lot and not doing a lot. And so I'm just really excited for what we're doing. I'm really thankful for the amount of time and effort that you have poured into HITSZN. Erica, believe it or not, does not get paid the big bucks. She doesn't get paid any bucks.
I don't get paid any the small bucks either.
But there's or V bucks. There's just a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears and sweat equity that you've put in and launching the podcast. And I remember she called me one day and she was like, I have the greatest idea for you. And I was like, what is it? And she was like, we need to do a podcast. And I was like, a podcast? Now I have been on and done some podcasts in my life, like in my previous life, and they never really made anything of it. But at the same time, I was like, okay. And she was like, here are the reasons why. And it was so funny. She had like all these reasons. And I'm like, those are all very valid, cool things. And so my brain started being like, okay, I'm going to look into seeing, are we getting into a charted territory that is going to be massively flooded? And we wouldn't. We didn't, because we're doing it. It was really wild. It was really wild to see. And then we were like, okay, we are doing this. And so I went around and got my techie brain going and got all of the stuff to do it. And we then said, okay, well, we got to get people lined up. And we talked about getting people lined up, and we kept talking about it. And then finally I was like, well, made the announcement that we're having an episode next Friday or next Thursday.
Yes.
And we were like, we have to record. So we just really put ourselves into gear, and we got this knocked out, and it has been such a cool process.
Yes,
it's
really
effortless.
Yes.
It's effortless. And then the third thing I'm really thankful for is I'm really thankful for my wife. And I'm not just saying that because she's an earshot of me. I really am, because and Erica can attest, when I am at the comp, I am in work mode. And I have to get my creative brain turned on. And sometimes the creative brain turned on requires me for running around. It requires me not to, this sounds terrible, but not to worry about anybody else but myself. It's a very kind of selfish time, but it is for the benefit of what we're trying to do. And so I'm really thankful for Jess, obviously thankful for your family. There are multiple times where I have no idea where my children are, but I know that they're safe. They're with either Erica and her family, or they're with Jess and our family.
Brian. Probably not Brian.
Maybe not Brian, but you never know. He has jumped in a couple times to help save the day.
He's good for buying Skittles and V-Bucks.
Yeah, Skittles and V-Bucks keeps the kids happy, and finding electrical plugs. But no, it can be kind of crazy sometimes. So obviously I'm just thankful for everybody who kind of rallies around and understands the mission and just really kind of helps with that. So it's been so much fun.
Yes. And we're at the end of 2024, and we're looking towards 2025, and there's so much more that is coming, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's been wild. So like thinking about this in a recap, right? Like we kind of started this at the end of last season, like really full-fledged push. We've launched an apparel line, which is wild. We've done 2 limited edition merch drops. We have, launched all this apparel. We launched the ambassador program. We have like 17 or 18 ambassadors across a bunch of states and 2 countries. We have representation in Canada with Kenzie. We have been to comps. We have been to showcases. We've had conversations with people that we probably had no business having conversations with. Like there were times I'm on the phone with someone, I'm like, how did I even get to talk to you? But it was super, super cool. We're in the process of launching our own partnership with Rebel and their practice wear line for our girls. We've launched the podcast. We launched Quinn. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
Yes, it's been really amazing. It's just been such an amazing journey from really, honestly, just a few months ago to now. And it's gone so fast. And I'd love to know for you, we just talked about a whole recap, but what in 2025 are you most looking forward to?
Relationship building. So it is, you can look at this from a couple different ways. People can look at like people coming up to you and saying, oh my gosh, are you so-and-so? And people are like, oh, that's like a fame perspective. That's not what I'm looking for. But it's the biggest compliment when someone comes up to you and is like, I saw your video. It was awesome. Or I did this, because at the end of the day, like that's what I want. I want to showcase our videos to people to get them excited about cheer. And people aren't really doing it. And so it's bringing so much joy and excitement. And that is awesome to me. When I was at Gatlinburg, when I was at a showcase for fame, no, it was the showcase actually for Charlotte All-Stars. I happened to be walking out to some of the food trucks to go get food, and this whole group stopped me. And they were like, are you HITSZN Media? And for a minute I was like, no. And then I'm like, yeah, I am. It was really cool. They're like, we've seen your videos. It's so cool. And so stuff like that. But 2025, I'm really excited about the relationships. And I'm just really excited to have the opportunity to go film more teams, showcase more athletes, and really just kind of pour back in with our ambassadors.
Absolutely. And I think it's that community that is really what I'm excited for. And I think community goes beyond, it's the ambassadors, it's the team, it's getting people excited. And I think that is really what HITSZN Media is about, is having that strong culture, having that strong community of that uplifting and really that positiveness when it comes to cheer. Like you said, it's a very stressful environment when you're talking about being in the comps and in the heat of everything. But when you know that you have people that have your back, that are wishing you the best, that are so in your corner, that is amazing. And I think that's what I love.
Yeah. And I had some amazing conversations with just different coaches over the past probably 6 months. And it's just been really enlightening to hear what they have to say. It's been really enlightening to just see how, pieces of advice and feedback and just continuing to grow through that. It's been really awesome. I'm really hoping that we can make a change in cheer next year for 2025. It's going to be a busy year.
Oh my gosh.
I am everywhere and anywhere. I'll be in Atlantic City. Just in January, I'll be in Atlantic City. I'll be in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then I'll be at Spirit of Hope. And we're hoping at Spirit of Hope to do a little HITSZN Media takeover. It'll be cool. So more to come for that. But just a big thank you to everybody that has been a support. If you've liked a video, followed it, bought merch, cheered us on, and listened to the podcast, whatever the case may be, told us about your friend or told your friend about us. I just really appreciate that. That's been so much fun. So I definitely look forward to 2025 and building HITSZN and Behind the Lens. This has been fun.
It has been. And we're going to be doing these once a month. So you will get to, as the cheer calendar rolls on, there's some big comps, there's some smaller comps, but once a month, Nick and I are going to take some time out just to have conversations like this, where we just talk about what's going on and how things are going and how the teams are looking, all the things involving cheer. So we're really excited to do this.
Yeah. And just a little hot tip here. The next podcast for Behind the Lens will be filmed on a train.
Yes.
And that's all I'm going to say. So
yes.
Our next episode for Behind the Lens, at least, will be filmed on a train, which will be really, really cool. We're taking that mode of transportation to a certain comp this year, and that will be really cool. But no, this has been fun. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel to watch HITSZN. We're also on Spotify. And then, of course, follow us over at Instagram at HITSZN Media. And yeah. All right. Well, to everybody, it's been a day after, but Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from us at from HITSZN and Hit Zero Media.
Yes, from our family to yours, we wish you the most wonderful Happy New Year, and we look forward to seeing you on the mat.
We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.